everybody. I am Levi Brickley, your host with the Pursuing Truth podcast, and we got a little panel tonight. Haven't done a panel in a long time, probably since like episode 20. I got some good friends with me. So, Moses, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, this is Moses. I'm coming from a show I host called the Daily Growth Podcast, and also Tradition versus Modern Talk, which will be changing soon. So I'm happy to be here with you guys. I definitely had a great time interviewing Sam, that's going to be here talking, also Levi, and also a new person I've never seen. So I look forward to hearing this topic tonight with you guys, and let's get to it.
Sam?
Hey guys, so I am Samantha. I create content mostly on TikTok, faith-based content with an emphasis on femininity as I go through my own femininity journey, influenced by the Bible, by God, and of course by Christ. So I usually do this podcast with Levi, and I'm super excited that we're doing like a panel style tonight because I worked with Moses individually and Levi individually, so I'm excited for this conversation tonight.
Hey everyone, my name is Georgina Lafroe. I am a friend of Levi's. I am just on tonight to see how conversation can go. I don't post usually, so I'm excited to see that side too.
Yeah, so Georgina is my best friend's girlfriend, and they've been together for like 5 years. So Georgina and
7, hun.
7?
Almost 7.
We're getting old. Oh God. Oh God. But so we have two people in the room, the two ladies that are taken, so they do not necessarily have to experience some of the things that Moses and I have to experience with, potential loneliness around the holidays. But it is the holiday season, the season of giving, and I would say, it is a little bit difficult to go into the holidays and know that you're not going to have a significant other with you. And I think, there's a lot of people that are also potentially going through a divorce, maybe a custody battle with children, and some of those challenges. So I think that we're just going to kind of run around and just kind of see where this conversation, the dialogue takes us. And so you guys, all of us, just feel welcome at any time just to like pop in and, say, hey, Levi, be quiet. I'm ready to talk. And I'm all for that. So anyways, yeah. Moses, what are you kind of thinking, man? You're kind of in the same position as me, being a man, walking into this, lonely and cold season of the holidays alone.
Yeah. As I'm scrolling through Twitter, as I look at this topic in mind, we lost a person this Sunday, and, a guy that I grew up watching, Jason David Frank, because seeing his story and he come to an end on Sunday about passing from a divorce. Funny thing we say that tonight. And looking at his story, kind of reminded me of my story because I'm a divorcee, you know what I'm saying? And, battling depression with that kind of stuff in the time of the year was holidays. It's just so hard on the mind. And I think mental health is a big thing with these holidays. I think we really need to be around people, especially if you're single, because I think it matters, because you don't want to be alone in your head. And the times like this, it's just not the time to be alone, isolated. You want to be around family or friends and, the right people, because I think singles can't be by themselves. It's just not ideal. Like stuff like this is happening. And, Jason Frank, rest in peace. But it's sad to see him go like that and, due to a relationship ending and divorce. And that's the harsh reality of what that is that can happen to people.
Yeah, yeah, and I think too, like last year, I was in a spot of depression, and it was really hard for me last year. I think coming into the season this year, I think I'm pretty content with it, I guess for me, God has me where He wants me, and I feel mentally in a different place now. But I think also that's the importance of having friends, is that your friends kind of, bring you along to those things where you're not like going to your significant other's house or whatever for the holidays. Sam, Georgina, what do you guys think about all that? You guys are in a relationship, you're going to go sit around the fire and the Christmas tree and sing songs, Christmas carols to the neighbors with your boyfriends.
Well, I actually kind of have a different perspective or background on it. So I actually grew up not celebrating any holidays whatsoever, because that's just the way I was born, and the religion that I was in. I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so I never actually celebrated the holidays. As I got older, now I really don't participate in holidays now either. That's just my personal decision. So I come from a perspective of, yes, I see that, other people have and live a different type of lifestyle and put a lot of emphasis, a lot of emotional emphasis on like the holidays. But those are times where you can reflect on what you do have without saying, you know what, comparing yourself with what other people do have and what you may not have or feel like you're missing out on. You don't have to think of it as something to miss out on, but something that you can just use to your advantage and prepare yourself. Use that time to hopefully you have other friends or you have family that you can reach out to. And if you don't, then you don't want to be sulking in your misfortune and being even more unhappy with your circumstances. You can use that time to like focus on, something you're trying to get better at, or watch something that makes you feel good. Sometimes we kind of have to like trick ourselves into believing that our situation's not as bad, because our situation can always be worse. So I don't think it's easier said than done for me to just say, oh, well, just don't think about it. There's circumstances where that's not the case. But I would say my best advice would be to focus on what you do have and what you have to your benefit and how blessed we are to even just be like living and breathing another day.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. First of all, Sam, that was a great point. I think I also come not from that particular perspective, but a perspective of being in a relationship doesn't always mean that you don't feel lonely too. You can definitely feel lonely with someone. And obviously that's something the two of you would both need to work on. But my point here is just to say the grass is always greener, right? It always looks like something on the other side is maybe better, but it's not necessarily that way. It takes both people that are in a relationship to feel like they're in a relationship, feel like they're being, they're utilizing every day the way that they want to. And I've noticed a huge thing could be just understanding what the other person wants. So if I were to be with someone who came from that background that Sam was responding to, it would be hard for me because I always celebrated. And so trying to think about how they might feel around the holidays, or vice versa. I come from a very trauma-filled background. And so my partner being able to understand that sometimes I don't want to be super happy and bubbly and listen to this and listen to that, because it reminds me of the time my dad died, or it reminds me of that Christmas that, all things went to crap and it was a horrible time in my household. And so everybody comes from these different backgrounds, and it completely affects the way that they feel in that moment. So just because society says you should be jolly, you should be holly, and you should be doing this and doing that and spending money and doing all these things, you might not always be able to do that. And understanding that it's okay not to do that is super important, I think, in that mindset, that mentality of I'm going to be okay as long as I stick to what is true to me. And that is the same single or in a relationship.
Yeah. Wow.
Great point.
You hit on it. That was good. I know. I'm like trying to think, where do you go from that? But, you did hit on something very key. And I think, for me, the grass does look greener on the other side, being in a relationship. But then you also have to think, being in a relationship, you have to put up with another person. And I'm not always like, I think for me, that's where I have some appreciation right now. Being single is, it's like, man, it's like, I don't have anybody in my ear, like telling me to clean the house, fold the laundry, take out the trash. I'm just doing it whenever I feel like it's necessary to do. I try to take care of it, but I'm a single guy. I live alone. So, I don't always stay on top of it like I probably should, but there is the benefit to that, and like over time, those things kind of, it's like your nose to the grindstone over time in a relationship. And somebody's not really like, or let me rephrase that. Somebody's like constantly in your ear telling you to do something. It's kind of like looking at that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm really blessed where I'm at right now. But I think, going into this season 2, kind of something that you hit on, everybody's like holly jolly and like purchasing things and this and that. and this is kind of controversial, but this is where the conversation gets started, right? This is the aspect of the capitalist society, right? Is that we go into these holidays and we want to, be thankful for everything just because it's Thanksgiving. We go into Christmas and we want to be giving to everybody just because it's Christmas. But the reality is like, we're called, as Christians, we're called to be that way with people all the time. We shouldn't just be thankful for during Thanksgiving. We shouldn't just be reflecting on how thankful we are just today. We should be reflecting on that every single day, because that gives us a sense of meaning and a sense of purpose in our lives that we can reflect back on and be like, wow, life is freaking awesome. And that's one thing that I think I've got to is like, it doesn't matter what time of year it is. It doesn't really change. And maybe that comes with the nature of my job, because I'm working during the holidays too, and on holidays, like I'm working on Thanksgiving. I don't get to spend the whole day with the family. And so it just kind of becomes like, it's just another day. And I know it's big to everybody else, but the reality is it's just another day, another part of the year. And so I get to live life every single day throughout the whole year, living like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's trivia too at times when you think about it. I know everybody has a different experience with this holiday season. I know for non-believers, I know being a Christian, it was a different experience for me growing up, especially knowing our family was not tight together. It was more of a divided family, and everybody was individuals in the household. And that is a common theme for most families today, in my opinion. I think in the Black community, especially speaking on them, for my people, from what I've seen with the people I've been around, my African family, they were more of a, you get what you do what you got to do to make sure you're happy. And the problem with that mindset, what I've seen was, nobody wants to talk to each other. It's just, consoling your feelings to yourself. And I think a lot of people are stuck on that. Like, you can't
like selfishness.
Yeah, like just be selfish to yourself and don't worry. We're not going to bother you. Just get that individual thing going on to yourself, and don't worry, we're going to be okay. And that's not okay. We need to understand how to open up and have the hard conversations and just understand each other, and just find out what's going on, because no one knows what's going on in your head if you don't talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's not easy, but it takes time to bring that up to make sure we understand each other, because I think family is supposed to help us through that stuff, but most times it's not our family, it's mostly our friends that know us better.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like your friend can be your therapist. Yeah. And you need friends there. I mean, it kind of goes back to like what I was saying, like, shoot, I mean, I always appreciate when my friends invite me over, because normally I'm just like sitting here in the house, I'm like, hey, if I don't have somebody on the podcast or I'm not on TikTok, I'm not really doing anything. So yeah, it's definitely nice to have good friends that you can call and talk to. So
I want to go back to what Moses said about oftentimes we rely on people outside of our family to be like a healthy support system, because we're not taught or seen to have those examples when we're growing up. A lot of times we have to get into adulthood, and then we have to learn or like relearn all these things. We have to learn, okay, what is it to be in a healthy relationship? We have to diagnose like what our traumas are. And that's a lot easier. Like, that's very trendy to say, oh, we're overcoming our traumas and breaking generational curses. But like, what does that really look like? Because what it really comes down to, I've learned just on my own journey, is that it's a very honest perception that you have to have with yourself. And you just saying, you know what, I've made a lot of mistakes because of these things that I was taught from such a young age, and now I want to stop doing that. I don't want to repeat these like cycles of unhappy marriages, unhappy children, raising children that feel isolated, and then they go into family environments and you don't feel like you're a family. Like, how many of us can, relate to being blood with somebody but not feeling that you have that healthy communication or a healthy bond to just like have open conversations that we really need to be having?
So how does somebody break that cycle? How do you break that cycle if like this is all you've experienced is like, breakups, and you've experienced divorce and, traumas? How do you break that cycle? How do you make the change?
Get closer to God.
I think self-awareness. Oh, yeah, I agree with that as well. But I think also self-awareness is going to be key.
Mm-hmm.
And what do you mean by self-awareness? How does somebody like get to the point where they can look at themselves in the mirror and actually evaluate themselves completely.
I think honesty is going to be a big part of that, but taking maybe the external commentary that you've received from previous relationships, friendships, family, and not say necessarily, oh, this person thinks this, so it's true, but understanding what part of me could see how that would be perceived and what part of me could understand that and what part of me knows deep down that's not true, or maybe I do have a bias here. And so looking at yourself in that perspective before you want someone else to look at you and think whatever you want them to think about you. And so knowing who you are truly, and I think being close to God, and a piece of that is understanding how you feel under God's eye and how you feel in that perspective is going to open up the possibility for other people to be able to let you in. Because if you don't let yourself in, if you do not love yourself, no one else can love you. It is impossible.
Yeah, I think there's a struggle between the two, because I think somebody can get so engulfed with themselves that they fail to realize that they can deceive themselves as well. Mm-hmm. And so like self-awareness is also this like the yin and the yang, you know, it's the red versus the blue. It's this fight amongst yourself and understanding things. So always evaluating things with a clear perspective. And like you said, you know, taking that outside perspective, and I wouldn't say like taking it and being emotional about it and like being really hard on yourself, but really taking that and be like, why would they think that way? I want to know why they think that way. Not because I want to be angry with them, but because I want to at least be able to communicate that back to myself, to be able to understand it in a way that when I communicate with that person, I'm not getting emotional. I'm not getting angry and resentful towards them. I actually want this relationship to grow. So maybe I do need to change some actions in the way that I communicate with that person to prevent me from getting angry and maybe grow that relationship from that. That's not about you being disingenuous, but I just, Georgina, here we go. Okay. This is one thing that, Sam knows what I'm about to say. Moses probably knows what I'm about to say, but I want to talk about this. You brought it up, self-love. Okay. Let's talk about it, because I think a lot of people, you know, they get into this conversation, and I want to know, what is the benefit to self-love? What do you, when you say self-love, how do you define self-love?
Good question. Personally, I think self-love is, like you mentioned, not tearing yourself down for maybe not being the best you could have been, but knowing that you have room to grow and knowing that not everything you do is going to be set in stone who you are. You are ever changing, and knowing that of others too, giving them the leeway to make mistakes. I think that is self-love in us all. And if we love ourselves and each other in that same kind of perspective, we're allowing each other to live our lives, because at the end of the day, you know, when you die, you die. Nobody's going to die necessarily with you. So giving each other the leeway to be who you are, but then comes the perspective of the contradiction of, okay, but how much of who you are is going to be harmful to others, right? And so that's where the piece of being arrogant comes in. How do you love yourself but not love yourself enough to think you're the biggest, baddest, best thing out there? That to me is where arrogance and ignorance comes in, mostly ignorance, because if you think you as one person can hold all and be all, that is where I think the self-love thing turns into arrogance, because I personally don't believe any one person can. And so I can see you getting a little antsy.
No,
over here.
I'm not. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm just, we're sitting on stools and they aren't the most comfortable.
Oh, okay, sure. But yeah, so I think it's a balancing board. Everything is, and I think there's a balance between seeing who you are, what you've done, because actions speak louder than words. And so you can't just say you are something but never practice it. But also being genuine with yourself and others and saying, oh man, I did that, and that was really crappy of me. I'm sorry. Will you give me a chance to prove that that's not what I meant to do?
So I'd ask you this. Is there a difference between self-love and self-worth?
I think yes.
What would be the defining difference between the two?
I think it's a fine line, a very fine line. But for me, I would say self-worth to me is more of who you are intrinsically versus self-love is who you might see yourself as, the image. So I could think that I'm really good at talking in front of people. And then when I get in front of people, looking at how I do that and saying, okay, maybe not.
So what you're saying is self-love can be deceiving then?
Absolutely. Exactly. Yeah.
But self-worth looks at you for what you really are, and you know, and that's what makes you confident in who you are. So then that would be my point to self-love, and that it is extremely detrimental to self, is because it's like, look at this camera. Like, this camera has intrinsic worth, right? But it's not worth enough for me to go buy a new lens. I'd rather go buy a new camera instead that will operate better than that camera. But it doesn't mean that that camera doesn't have its value. Do you see where I'm going with that? Like, I don't love it enough to go buy a new lens for it. I'd rather go buy a new camera that can operate better, because I understand its worth, but I also understand there's more value elsewhere. And so this is like one of the issues that I have with self-love, is because I think that it does breed the arrogance. And what fascinates me about self-love is that in a culture where right now you get this like self-love from one end and you get this narcissism from the other end, and both of them are like, you're working like hand in hand, but nobody's connecting the dots that narcissism is breeding in the midst of self-love culture being preached to people, when really we need to find value. And especially in these moments of the holidays, is understanding our value, understanding the value that, hey, I got a place in my family. I got a place with my nieces and my nephews, my mother, my father, my aunts, my uncles. They all love me so much. And I think that's why, taking the holidays and being like, yeah, they're great because it's a time to kind of remember and reflect on it. But really, are they any different than March 31st? It's not really that much different.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I know. I have a very different perspective when it comes to self-love. And it's kind of one of the things I feel like I talk about quite a bit. But it's really one thing that when I look at people, everybody's searching for that. And it's so hard to find that value, because it's like you're reassuring yourself, oh, I just got to love myself. I just got to love myself. I got to the point where I no longer have to reassure myself of my worth, I guess, is what I'm saying. And it's not like this narcissistic tendency. It's just that I've got to the point where I know my worth enough that I'm confident with who I am, so I can just carry that. And at times I know that I'm going to look like an idiot, and I know that I'm going to fail. And you know what? When I do fail, this is where personal responsibility comes in. When I fail, I own that. I take it. And I make fun of myself. Because if I make fun of myself before anybody else, then who's to say they can make fun of me? Yeah, pick on me, whatever. But when you're that comfortable, you don't have to worry, and I think interesting.
I think that self-love can be harmful to us as a whole, because for young men, I'm just thinking of like a young man who's maybe like a teenager, and the world is telling him like, you're fine just the way you are, or a young girl, a teenage girl, you're fine just the way you are. It's gonna limit them from what they're capable of doing. They're gonna say, as a young man, I don't have to work that hard. I don't have to be this provider because the world is telling me to do that. But in my mind, I'm perfect, and I'm totally fine just the way I am. Or a girl that can push her limits just because we're women. We're very strong, right? So if we're telling ourselves, oh, we're fine just the way we are, it's like, where is there room to grow? And I think that's where it can become like a fine line, like you said, as far as us not reaching our full potential. Like, we're never going to reach our full potential, but if we just stop trying and we just say, you know what, I'm fine just how I am today, it like makes life boring. And then there's nothing for us to strive for.
Yeah.
Yeah, the self love, category with the new trend in the single talk community, in the single Christian community, has just been a booming, word now. It's like everybody's self love and telling everybody the same thing, like, oh, well, God is working on me, and the love of God is working in my love for Him. And I'm just like, you've been working on your love for God since you were 19. How long you been working on your love for yourself that you should have learned when you were like 23 and you're 29? How long you gonna keep loving yourself? You loved yourself a long time. Now you're gonna learn to love somebody soon because you're gonna love yourself too long and then you won yourself over. But now it's like how you're not gonna understand the love of a person. You don't understand the opposite sex. I mean, it's gonna get to a point where it's like I think 2025 by that time of the year, we're gonna have more singles, and it's like I'm not gonna say this to be funny, but Andrew Tate made a point which I agree with. He said, and I thought it was funny, but I thought like, why did he say it like that? He made a point. He said we have a failed society, and I was just like, whoa, I didn't even think about it like that. He said because the way we're going right now, it's like how is that true? But he said, you know what? He made a point about we have a society that's not making more families, and the more singles we create, the less families are not going to show up. The more communities with more singles, the less families. It's going to get, it's going to pile up soon. It's going to overflate, and the inflation already happening. So we're going to see how it goes.
So why do you think singleness is up?
Singleness is not beneficial more to the community. I mean, a single person, like let's say for instance, the feminism movement has a way of working with more single women to make more money because the government, let's say the elites, right? They benefit off of more singles because the taxes getting off them is more of a benefit because look at the way things are now. They're laying off workers right now from not MetaMask, what's it called? Metaverse, Google.
Mm-hmm.
They're laying off people right now, and people are living off that as a working income. But it's like, whether they're single is like the thing or not. If their families are late, I don't know if they're families, but most of the singles I know are losing jobs because they're by themselves. And it's like, with a family, you're more in a better position to be able to sit in a position to have a safety net instead of being alone because you can't just go back to your mom and dad. Like most times.
So you're saying that you're saying that essentially it's like it's systematic that for the capitalist culture is that or capitalist economy, excuse me, is that it's like ingrained into the young people to go out and be single or at least maybe looked at as maybe virtuous, I guess would be the word.
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying? Is that it's systematic?
Yeah, hookup culture and all that. Yeah, pretty much. And it's like, it's glorified. Like they tell men, like, there's no point in getting married. Like the Fresh and Fit shows and Donovan Sharp, they tell them all the same thing. Like, there's no point being married. Just be with each other until it's over. But I mean, that's the choice everybody wants to make. That's on them. But I'm just saying, from my understanding, families benefit the long term because you're getting the benefit of a marriage, and that's because you're gaining versus losing somebody that you get nothing out of. It's like in a Texas law, if you come to Texas, you can't just be with somebody and then you're free. No, there's a common law, and that law is strict because they're strict about marriage here. It's like you get married basically in several months if you're here with somebody for several years. You know what I'm saying? That's how strict it is out in Texas, and I didn't even know that until I moved out here.
That's crazy.
It is because they take the law serious. Like they're like straight up, you getting married or you getting that shotgun. You know what I'm saying? Shotgun.
Well,
You getting married or real?
Well, yeah, wow,
Yo,
man,
married birth.
that's intense. Yeah, I'm fascinated by some of those perspectives. I think singleness to some degree is right now definitely glamorized, or at least like there's this idea that kind of like what I was saying. I don't have to worry about somebody telling me to take out the trash. I don't have to, all this stuff. Like people can't even deal with the battle within themselves. What makes you think that they're going to be able to deal with somebody else whispering in their ear, telling them to do something? They can't do that because they haven't even worked on themselves to like have those conversations. Like, I don't know, like there's really this, maybe there's also this like idea, you know, just firing from the hip. I always call it just firing from the hip. That's what podcasting is for us, you know, just firing from the hip. But there's really this kind of perspective, or this idea that I'm going to get this like super good person. You know, they're going to have like the perfect shaped body. They're going to make $150K a year, maybe from the woman's point of view, is to get a man that makes a lot of money. I don't know. Like maybe there is that. Just tossing that out there. What are the ideas on that?
I think
that there's a culture.
Go ahead.
Oh, I agree. I think there's a culture, and I think it's shown a lot on social medias. For instance, I can't scroll through my TikTok without having several videos of women usually saying, if this man isn't doing this one thing, trash. Like,
yeah,
move on
one
to the
thing,
next.
you're out, yo. You better be able to do it all, brother.
And I see where they're coming from, but I think it's so over exaggerated to make this idea, because I know, because I've been with someone, that's not that's not reasonable to assume of a person. But if you haven't and you're young and naive, it's very easy to say, hey, I just met this dude and I went on a couple dates with him, and then he's already saying this, so I know he's about to be trash. So next, you know, and so it's so easy to do that I think that's what really, in my opinion, is raising that culture of singular, just being individual, being selfish, it's all about self-love. It's all about me. I want to go travel. I want to go do this. And I'm not saying those things can't be good, but I'm saying everything has to be taken, you know, with a grain of salt.
Yo, you're giving up yourself. You know, like you're called to like sacrificially love this other person. You know how hard that is?
Yeah.
Like, you know how hard that is to give up part of yourself for somebody else and live selflessly?
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's like going up to the altar and sacrificing your own self for what you wanted in your life to yourself. And now you're giving it up to that person and give them the best of yourself. So that's really, truly a sacrifice. And that's true. You have to give up yourself. You're losing your identity to what you believe you were. It's like the saying goes, Adam and Eve, they're Adam. It's like crazy. No one thought about, why did the man Adam become Adam as one? Because they were one already. They're just Adam. And now it's man and woman. Man is the woman's rib, so come back to my rib, and now you're one with me. So it just plays that whole role pretty well.
A piece to that too, especially when we're talking about holidays. I think it's really important to understand too the culture that's been created of somehow value or self-worth is equal to the monetary value. So I see a lot of people who will say, if my boyfriend or girlfriend doesn't get me a gift that's like $50 plus or whatever, I feel like that's not a good gift, or I feel like he doesn't really care. And that kind of dumbfounds me, because I'm like, shouldn't there be so much more that you value in a relationship between each other rather than a actual thing? And so I think that's a culture as well to being single, in that you almost feel like, oh, I don't want to tell my friends that dude didn't get me anything for Christmas, even though we've only been dating for a short period of time or whatever, because I don't want them to tell me like, oh, he ain't nothing, blah, blah, blah. And so that's something I've seen personally. So I think that's important to include in the mental health, because you're over here trying to sacrifice.
Well, we're a consumer culture.
And you have society saying, don't sacrifice. You shouldn't sacrifice. And so I feel like there's a big contradiction that pulls us constantly.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's the thing. I think for me, like the best gift you can get me is one where you were actually thinking about something that I wanted. If that was $5 or it was, you know, $200, I may just be happy with the $5 gift. I want to know how intentional you were thinking about something that I would want. You know what I'm passionate about. You know what I like. You're with me every day, woman. Like, come on, you know what I love. Why don't you know that I just want that $5 gift? Yeah. You know? And I think so. I got a question for both of you, Sam and Georgina. does the amount of money that a man makes, is that extremely important? Like, let's say like $100K a year. And to Sam in LA, that may be different. So let's put a perspective on that, like $1 million a year because it's so damn expensive to live out there. No, I'm kidding. But like probably like 150,000 out there and 100,000 here. Does that matter? Or would you take a guy that's making 50,000 here, Georgina, or 75,000 there?
I'll let you go, Sam.
Okay, sure, yeah. This kind of connects to what you said though, because the TikTok culture is so crazy. It's like its own culture when women are posting like, this is what my man got me, and how did he forget? Like, it was my birthday, and like he didn't give me a million roses. Like the expectation is all the way up here, and then like what we bring to the table is like right here, So it's like sometimes we really need a reality check, but the reality check also comes in for like to answer the question, how much money can also that translates for women. The way that I interpret it is like, how much stability can one have? Now, that's not the whole basis of the relationship. Okay, it's financial gain. As women, the psychology of it is, how much can this man protect me? How can he be a provider? Is he somebody that I can put my faith into? Is he somebody that I can put my trust into for me to sacrifice myself in the long term if like he isn't in the financial status where he wants to be? Is there a plan in place? Is there something that we're going to be able to build together? That takes into perspective like what type of mentality the woman has going into the situation of, she's a gold digger and she wants just to have that dollar amount going into the relationship, and she's not willing to like sacrifice herself to build together. Okay, that's one thing. But if we're talking about somebody who, like myself, wants to be led by a man who's being led by God, I don't see the fact of this man not making this extreme amount of money or being in this higher tax bracket such a deal breaker. If you know what you want and if you're being led by God, that's priceless in my eyes.
And I think that's the key. You said if you know what you want. Because when you look at taking the $150,000 a year job, the man that has that job and the man that makes $75,000, what type of lifestyle are you wanting to live? Do you want to live in the $1 million home, or do you want to live in maybe out there the $600,000 home? You have to be really kind of evaluating what you want to get in life. And is that maybe then, is it an ego thing within me? Maybe do I want to just be keeping up with the Joneses by having the $1 million house? How important is the relationship to me? Could I live comfortably with a man that's making $75,000? But I think another key thing that you hit on that is extremely important is for a man is that when he sees that the financials are struggling, he's like, yo, I'm going to go mow somebody's yard. I'm going to go out and I'm going to make sure that there's some money that's put on the table so that my family is fed. Because you hit on it. There's that intrinsic, like, I don't necessarily want to say need, but expectation maybe. There's that intrinsic expectation that the man's going to provide in that situation. Okay. I like that. That was really good.
I'm gonna go red on pill on this real quick. Sorry, Levi.
He changed the light. Oh, I love it. Let's go.
I got to go red on this because
yeah,
it's like with that mindset, I mean, hypergamy at the best, right? You say that you want a man with money, but what are you watching on TV to come off to think you deserve? I mean, don't get me wrong. Everybody wants something where I can't front them for that, but the thing is, you want a man with a status and the money he's making. Let's be real. You have to come with something that is valuable more than just saying you have the money and the status. The thing is, if you want this man with this six figure, obviously competition is real. Like there's women out here who are actually women that are working hard to be the wife they're deserving to be because they got the position. Like the lady I told you about in Allie, 27 in your area in Kansas. She's a vet and she has a husband that's 50 years old. Shocking, right? But she has a husband. Many are looking for that kind of guy. Like, oh, he's secure. He's done with the service. He's adopted, but he's also a family man. And now they're having their first child soon. And I think we have to be realistic and think about how that is a real thing to know. Women have to fight the fact that, yeah, a lifestyle is nice, but are you really ready for that lifestyle, because you can get it and you don't maintain it, and it's like, well, you weren't ready for it. It's like the guy has to choose like a business in a sense, you know. And don't get me wrong, I like red pill here and there, but sometimes it makes sense to know we have to make choices to know we're investing our money and our time to make sure we have a family for the long term, and not just having a family because, oh, well, I wanted to get you because you have the best security. It's not enough. We have to make sure. And it's like America is teaching our ladies, not all of them, but, well, there's a majority, I'll say that, it's taught that, you know, the man with the highest status is the best to choose from. But the thing is, what are you bringing to the table to make him see you as the best candidate? Because there's so much out here. Why are we just going to pick here? America is just not the only place. And I think we got to remember that. And I rest my panel for that.
I'm going to give that to you, dude. That was great. And I love that you changed the light, man. I was over here like literally trying to like not convulse from laughing so hard inside. But that was great. No, you hit on it, man. You hit on it. And I think here's the thing. I'm in a position, you know, I'm going to put myself on the altar of people. Okay. Is that, man, I'm over here in Kansas. I'm making the household medium income, working in law enforcement, yo. I go out and I put my life on the line. And so when I hear this bull crap about, you know, you got to be making $100,000, you got to be making $150,000, you know, to be, you know, high value to women. I'm like, are you serious? I'm the type of dude that I would get up and I would give my life for my woman. Like, what are you serious? I'm the type of dude that I'm going to show up to the freaking practice with my children and I'm going to be a coach. I'm the type of dude to sit down with my wife when she had a hard day at work and I'm going to talk to her about how hard her day was. Gosh dang, like, is money really that important, or do you want somebody that truly loves you for everything that you are and wants to go into life with you and go to war with you? Or do you just want a guy that's going to get you, you know, that boat so that you can go be happy on the water somewhere and drink your freaking Trulies and be miserable with your friends? I mean, seriously.
Take selfies. All the
yeah, take selfies, look good on Instagram. What I'm saying is, I'm working the household medium income. I can obviously, as a single man, I'm making the household medium income. I can obviously provide for my family. But what I'm told by this whole red pill manosphere bull crap, go out, make millions of dollars, you're not good enough. Are you serious, dude? I would die for you too. And you're the one that's telling me I'm not good enough, and I'm over here making pennies on a dollar. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not motivated. Dude, I wake up every morning, I'm like, what am I going to do today outside of my job? Look, I go into work in 7 hours. I do not care how much sleep I get. This is what I love. This is why I'm here. Period. Dot. And so when this whole manosphere thing comes up and it's like, oh, well, he's not making that much. Do you see the drive? Do you see the passion? Do you see the purpose that a man potentially has outside of what he's currently making? Do you see the potential that he has to grow beyond that to be able to give her the things that she wants in the future? Are you going to grow with him, or do you expect him to already be there? And if you expect him to already be there, then expect a 45-year-old man.
Absolutely. Yeah. That makes sense. I agree.
Should I change both my lights to red?
You know, it's all good. You can just get the LED lights. Get them on sale Fridays, Black Friday.
Oh my goodness.
Oh man, I'm sorry, but man, that's been building up in me for so long because I watch so much of that, and I'm like, are you serious?
You got to get away from it. It's you can watch it, right? Like, they have good points, but I think it's like an introduction, and that's why it can be very dangerous for young men that are being introduced to that, because they think, okay, I have to go out, I have to make all this money, I have to become super fit in the gym, I got to be all ripped. And then they're like missing the most important factor, which is like, you're not doing it for yourself. You're not getting it for your own satisfaction. And then for women too, on the flip side, it's like, if you get a man that has all of these things, do you really think that that man's going to be willing to lay his life down in the same way that you would be able to get somebody who really genuinely wants a relationship with you? Because both people are in it for they're getting something out of it, right? In that type of relationship. So really like understanding what level we're on and being able to find somebody that's like compatible with, like, I think our expectations are just like out the window in this culture.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that goes to my point earlier of that thin line between self-love and self-worth. The way I define it is almost equal, meaning if I'm going to do something, it's going to be for me, but for the betterment of me, so that I can raise my value in who I am. I'm not going to the gym because I want to look hot. I'm going to the gym so I can be healthy and live longer and live happier for the partner that I'm going to be with. And so it is a self-love thing, but it goes into my self-worth. At least that's how I have seen it. And so I think that's why I mix them a lot. And then the idea of that to others who I have heard say, oh, he's got to be 6 foot tall. He's got to be this. He's got to be that. It's like, that sound, lower your expectations, but also understand, reality check. Why do you deserve that? Literally, you guys hit it right on the nail. Why would you deserve that, but you're sitting here on the couch eating potato chips? Like, what makes you think that they want to look at that if they're working that hard on themselves? And so I think it always is a reality check in understanding you may want something, but you got to rise to that challenge too. You can't fit in this level and be down here, like you said earlier, Sam. And so earlier, I just think it's important to understand.
And that's why you can't be going out into hookup culture and giving yourself to everybody.
Okay.
No, like seriously, like that's like one thing, and this is going to sound really bad, but don't look at it just on face value. But a woman provides that to a man. Woman provides sex. And so here's the thing, like there's statistics out there that show that if a woman has had sex with more than 6 men in her lifetime leading up to marriage, that the statistics increase significantly with divorce if she's had sex with more than 6 people before she meets the man that she's going to marry. And I think so. Here's the thing is that in a culture where we have devalued sex so much, we don't look at, like, women have a lot of control with sex, like far more control than I do as a man. Women like can almost like tell me what to do and say, hey, I'll do this for you later sexually. And then like, I'll probably go do it. Cause I'm like, yes, I'm excited. Like just guy thing, you know, but it's true. Women have a lot of power with sex. And so if a woman's going out and giving herself to all these other dudes, you know, and then you look at some other things, you know, does she have kids? You know, you start adding in all of these things. And I'm not trying to throw those people underneath the bus, but these are aspects that as a single man, I'm walking into this relationship knowing that I'm accepting those things. And how much value do I put on that? And is it wrong for me to put value on it? I don't think so, because it's my personal perspective and what I desire to have in a woman. But I think a lot of people also get offended by that.
And let's just go here.
Blue light.
The blue pill community is another one I'll say. I used to be in that community, and I'm pretty much out of that. But the thing is, the mindset is to get a girl. But the problem is the guidance is not there. A lot of them don't know how to get that proper guidance. And the thing is, men and women, it's like masculinity is deteriorating in America for a lot of reasons. And now we have the new body positivity movement. The trans movement is getting out of control because that just happened with was it Colorado with that situation? And that's the LGBT. So, I mean, they're not going to, I don't know if they're addressing their community, but it's like, why is this even y'all allowing y'all people to go crazy? Y'all know why, but we don't, we already told them this truth. They don't want to hear it. So the thing is, I really believe we got to get to a point to come to a common ground and realize a lot of the young men and the women, we got to give them to the proper understanding from the older people who are experienced to give them the guidance. And we don't have those mentorship talks like we're supposed to have. And I really believe if we have the right women with the right leadership in their life, like the women follow the women, men follow the men, it can get a better opportunity for people to grow in the mindset to get them out of this whole lone wolf type of mentality. Or I guess you call it the sisterhood is what I've heard, because they are like, you know, back each other up because of feminism, you know, because, you know, most of that stuff has just been popular over time because the people didn't have a circle of people to trust except a movement of people together. And I think we really get to a point in America and start realizing we really need to get back to the original way it was back in the day, because it was better back then, but today it's like crap, you know.
Why don't we want to listen to our elders? Why don't we want to listen to our parents that maybe had a successful marriage? You know how much I would love to be able to go back and talk to my grandma that was married for 66 years to my grandpa?
Yeah.
Like, I would love that, because maybe I'd have a little bit more understanding as to what it takes to be married for so dang long. Because women, people, men, vice versa, are a lot to put up with. When you're a woman putting up with a man, that's a lot to put up with. When you're a man, you're putting up with a woman, that's a lot to put up with. Goes both ways.
Absolutely. It's definitely both ways. It's not even like when I was married, I mean, I learned a lot. I mean, like, I look in the mirror, like, thinking sometimes those days are happy. They will come in your mind like, did I make the right choice? You know what I'm saying? And it comes to mind. Like, you start thinking about that. But the thing is, it's a beautiful thing, but you have to understand who you're dealing with, because I'll be straight up honest with you guys. So I tell everybody this. You gotta understand the family dynamic. Even if they're not perfect, I get that. But know their family, because when you married them, like said back in the day, you married their family. And I never met that person's family. Unfortunately, me and her had that whole, we are running to the altar and jump in the broom. And that's it.
Would you do it again?
Yeah, Viva La Loca, Las Vegas. You know, live our best life. But the problem is, we didn't think too much. We were just, you know, young, and we thought we had it all together. 25, 26-year-old. I was the young one. She was the older one. It's just a matter of learning that those mistakes are it could be severe. No kids, thank God. And it was a situation where I have to learn, like, this is something from my life that I take as a lesson, and a blessing to know it could have scarred me for a long time, you know. And I realized choosing that person was really, to the point of my family, I realized this to my mother. You know what I'm saying? I took accountability and realized that was my mother and my ex. And the accountability to me knows that I should never do that again, because I realized I had no therapy for myself before prior. So that kind of played a part of that choice of not picking correctly in my time of choosing without learning. I need to get myself right before I even pick any woman. And I didn't even know that. So I had to go through that.
Yeah, yeah. When you look at a family, you look at, you know, what their past traumas were like, some of their previous experiences, and then kind of you start to understand, you know, why they process things the way that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, that's good. That's so good.
I know Sam probably looks at your father figure, well, your father's characteristics and the man you're with. It kind of shows, like, oh, my dad was like this, and he kind of reminded me of you know, it's a similar energy, they say, but it's similar mindsets. And you kind of notice that, and they kind of go for that, because that's ladies. They got to choose for that security, and I get that. And I think it's important for us men to choose who's that providing that that security at home, like our mothers, if they were that mother, or there's a similar chaos, we kind of familiar, like, oh, it reminds me of my mom, but I like her, she's crazy. Like, why would you choose Jezebel? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? But I went through that, but it's all good. We all learn from that, but that's just part of life. We got to take that in and run with the lessons we learn. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Oh yeah. Now you got a lot of life lessons to teach the younger ones, to say, hey, this is what you can avoid from doing. So be more people, because now we're not taught those things. So you can be like, okay, this is what I got.
It's getting them to listen is the problem.
Yeah.
How do you do that?
I mean, the kids today, I mean, Gen X, is that Gen X or Gen Z? Gen Z.
Z.
Yeah, 'cause we're millennials. All of us are millennials, or anybody Gen X?
I'm a Gen Z.
You're Gen Z? Oh, you're okay. Gen Z in the building.
I think
So
I
is
am
Sam.
too.
Sam's a Gen Z.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, me and Levi. Well, Levi,
We get, yeah, me and Moses, we get all the rap for your guys' crap. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think it's just a funny time.
Yeah, everybody's like, damn millennials. Like, she's 20. What are you talking about? I think it was 96 was the transition year.
96.
From Z to, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think it's just a matter of time when the generation underestimates. I mean, a lot of guys in Gen Z are not, like, I noticed the rise of single mothers, and it's been a real tough time for a lot of them because they've been trying to find a good husband. A lot of the young guys I've talked to told me they're not putting up with it. They're not being stepfathers. And back before millenniums came, I mean, it was an honorable thing to be a stepfather. But now with the red pill coming in the picture, talking about, well, if you take a stepmother, a single mother, you know that you're basically last place in her mind. You're not going to be a partner to her life. Timmy is over you now. So what are you talking about? That's what they're telling the young guys. And it's like, you can never be a man over that wife, over that woman. You can never be a husband over her. She would never have you. You'll always be the back of her mind when Chad is ahead of is her first thought. Chad, not you. What are you talking about? You simp? That's what they're gonna say. But
it's so sad because not all women are that way.
No, it's
like
not.
there's very few actually shallow women that will go that low. Like, I've dated, I guess I don't have that much experience dating, because I did date around a lot. I dated 3 girls, got serious with 3 girls, and one of them cheated on me, and the one that cheated on me was out of my complacency. I mean, I take full accountability for my part in that. Not saying that what she did was right, but she didn't cheat on me because of money. She didn't cheat on me because I wasn't taking her on dates and doing things with her. It was the quality time that I wasn't spending with her is why she cheated on me. So she went over there sleeping with Chad because I didn't have enough money. And that's what this whole red pill thing is going to try and push down these young guys' throats. It's like, learn how to love a woman, dude. And then she won't ever want to leave you.
Yeah. Yeah, men want respect, women want love. It's biblical, and that's as simple as that. I mean, men are not that hard to please. Women, y'all have a different way of getting pleased. We got to make sure to find out what y'all like. I guess what is it? Pinterest? Is that like the thing now where you guys put everything online? Yeah, that's a hack. I didn't even know that people put a lot on stuff. Y'all got a lot on that stuff. Y'all put too much out there online. I mean, golly, that's the blueprints of some people's minds. Like, oh, you like this? I'm gonna buy that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, now you know Pinterest is out there, so you should know that, fellas. Pinterest works.
Oh my god! All right, guys. Well, I told Georgina that we would be about an hour into it, and then we'd probably wrap her up. So, man, Moses, dude, the light changes. What you had to say with it. It was like, dude, like I said, convulsing over here, trying to pull back from cardiac arrest. Jeez, I was laughing so dang hard.
Seizure. That's what it is. That's what you mean? Because the colors change. It's seizure. Yeah. It happens to people. Yeah.
Yeah. Moses, is there anything else you want to say about this? I mean, this is what I love. Just one thing, real quick, guys. This is what I love. Is like we went into this. We had one topic, dude. And I feel like this flowed so good, and it was just so raw and authentic. And I love that. And I appreciate both of you guys for coming on. And I extremely appreciate you coming over. And I hope you enjoyed it, because I enjoyed having you over here. And I enjoyed the dialogue there at the beginning as well.
Oh,
go ahead, Moses.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thanks for having me on, first of all, and thank you all for thanks for inviting me to this for the first time. I never had a show with you on this since the last time, and I was like, it's been a minute, but man, it's a great time to be doing this because I think the ones who understand are going to be the ones to progress. Like I think when I think about stuff, I'm a big sci-fi guy, right? If you don't know, I watched Stargate. I used to watch a lot of stuff, but it was not the best. So I guess you could say kind of a little messed up in some things you can be watching on TV, right? But it paid off. I learned some good and bad. But hey, the thing is, it's a lot of people now who don't understand these things that we as people understand for a purpose. Because let's be honest, everybody's not going to make it. And I only say that because it's positive in the sense that we are not just only the people who saying it for ourselves, but we're saying it because the people don't always know the same things we know. It's only a few that will get it because everybody's not on the same page, and there's only a few who want to understand. And I think there's a majority of people who are just following the crowd and not willing to hear the people who are speaking something that makes sense to understand. There's a common thing happening where we need to understand. We got to stop this mindset, or else there's a generation of people not making their bloodline pass on to the next generation. I'm a firm believer in legacy. I want 5 kids. Yeah, I said that. 5 kids. And the thing is, I don't have a problem with that. I think it's a matter of providing. I'll provide it. I'll work a job. I get the money. I'm not going to stop. The thing is, we have a problem with the whole family thing, and that's the foundation of the community and the society. We're family built for society. So why are we not fighting that family foundation? It's just lost.
Raise who you want to go out and change the mindset. That's the power of being a parent.
Bingo. And be proud of the son you'll have who the man you married, or the daughter you have with the woman you married. Be proud of that child you have with that right person.
Right.
That's how you know you made the right choice. Because if you're not proud of that child, because you made that man, the man of that child you created, don't just pick anybody. This is the time we're in. This is a rare time. And I think people should take it to heart and realize it's not, tomorrow's not promised, but I think we should take care every day like it's our last day. Take it like that every day. Work hard and do the best you can.
I love it. I love it. I think we should definitely do this again. I'm glad that we did this. Georgina, I definitely want to hear more of Georgina because I liked her thoughts. I'm excited for, I don't know when it'll happen, if it'll happen, but I hope we should talk about something happening. Because I think these type of conversations are important, and obviously we don't all agree on the same things and we don't all disagree on everything, but the important thing is bringing these things to the surface, having tough conversations that normally people get uncomfortable with, but for some reason we're not uncomfortable with these type of conversations. So why not express it to other people? And they may not be willing to put themselves on the line like I guess we do, and say, okay, these are my thoughts, these are my ideas, and let me put it on the internet for everybody to see. Like, not everybody has that, but I want to give people the benefit of the doubt that people who are listening or people who are going to find this type of content later down the line, they don't have to put themselves out there because we're the ones doing it. So as long as we have people that are listening, enjoying the content, and taking something meaningful out of the conversation, like, that's good enough for me. So I'm excited. Thank you guys for putting this together.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree. I really love conversation in general, specifically topics that seem to make people uncomfortable, just because it shouldn't be judged. It shouldn't be something you can't do. And it reminds me of what you said earlier about having your family, being able to come to your family and share what you feel and what's going on with you without feeling like you're going to get judged or shut down. It's just that silence piece. And so I think us doing this brings forth the understanding that it is okay. It is okay to share what you feel and how you feel and why you feel it, even if you might not know, and figuring that out in the conversation. So I appreciate these. Yeah.
Having authentic conversations that are aimed to impact culture. That's the slogan of the podcast.
That's it. Yeah.
That's what this is all about. And this is why I love it. I appreciate you guys coming on today, and really enjoyed the conversation. So if you guys would, as listeners, at the bottom of the description is everybody in the handles. Go down and click the links, go shoot everybody a follow. I know Georgina isn't like all about the content stuff, but Moses, Sam, and I, we post a lot of content. And so you guys make sure you go shoot all of us a follow there. And then for the Pursuing Truth podcast, subscribe on YouTube, like the video, share it if you think that somebody will pull from this conversation that we had today. And make sure that you follow us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts so that you're notified when a new podcast comes out. Leave a rating and review on there. So again, guys, thank you so much for coming. Thank you for listening. And you guys have a great Thanksgiving and holiday season.